Over to you, Jackie.
Hey, thank you very much. First of all, thanks for having letting me be a part of this. I love everybody that's here. I'm hearing such inspiring just thoughts, wishes, opportunities, and so it's just really exciting to be a part of that. I know some of you already. For the rest of you that I don't know yet, I am Dr. Jackie Carroll. I'm the founder and CEO of Gamecraft. I'm also a accredited financial counselor. I design game based learning experiences. Sometimes they're games, sometimes they're events that build the skills people need to be successful. And that can be in school or it can be with money. And my work really sits at the intersection of education, because I worked a lot with faculty and students to maximize learning skills, learning strategies, and knowledge retention. I've moved into financial wellness, where I've also worked with a lot of groups and individuals on one to try and get, open to learn information about financial literacy and money and things like that. And what's an overarching method that I've used all around is game based learning. So I use that all the time. And of course, some others of you do too, like Stephen as well. But that's my story and my intersectionality. So, Gamecraft is a small publishing company out of Palm Springs, California. And really, our goal is just to create games that are easy to learn, fun to play, motivational. I want them to drive and promote creativity, social engagement, and authentic learning. Here's one of the things that people think about games. I mean, let me see by show of hands. Have you run into anybody that has where they thought, oh, games and learning, those don't connect? And people think that. But games, and people on this call will tell you that games are a unique way of strengthening skills and problem solving and critical thinking. And all those things help individuals be successful in the classroom and beyond, right? And so with math, for example, these skills often spill over into financial literacy, the confidence. For example, Yvonne was talking about confidence, that you have to have that before you even try anything. And that helps you then build that long term financial wellness that Sandy was talking about. I want to kind of just take a moment because this is the back to school session. And here are some statistics. Over summer, students lose this much of the what they have learned during the year. So this summer, 18 to 17% of the English language arts that students have learned last year disappeared. 25 to 30% of the mathematics, the same thing. So that means when they're starting school at the beginning of this year, they're starting behind. They already have forgotten a lot of the things that they were taught in the year. And summer also widens achievement gaps, in particular for students who don't really have resources or have less available resources. Some students have Kumon or private tutoring and things like that, but some do not. And if you want to learn more about not only the games that we play or some of the consulting that I do and the presentations and things like that, you can go and reach us at gamecraft.us. You can buy a Get Nine game on Amazon, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's really primarily. You can always email me too. But the goal is to play and to have authentic learning in those playing experiences. And again, role play, like Stephen said, that's very powerful. You remember those things, you take that with you. And that's the same with even simple games, whether you use them to warm a group up, to get them ready to just kind of be able to talk to each other, be vulnerable, or if you're developing skill and you're using it as an active tool. Get Nine was created, funnily, out of my financial education experience. As a financial educator, when I talk to people about helping maybe to build budgets or understanding how they felt about money or where do I even start and those type of things, a lot of times what I heard is, I don't do math. I don't do numbers. I can feel them shutting down already. And that was one of the things with math in particular and financial literacy that I wanted to use Get Nine for, is to create an avenue where it can be authentic and fun and it removes the barrier. Get Nine is a very easy game. It can be very complex, but it starts very easy. You get numbers that are, numbered from 1 to 12, and you get some dice that have all the mathematical calculations, such as multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And all you do is create combinations. So you can do things like making a single combination using two dice. You can do a couple, or you can also put two or more cards together and create your own numbers. So, for example, when we're using Get Nine as a tool, as a workshop, just a starter to get a workshop rolling and things like that. And I'm in a group that are not 4-year-olds and not 10-year-olds and not 12-year-olds, but they're college students. I have them start with putting cards together. So any calculation that they do has to have at least 2 or 3 cards. So that just steps it up a notch. But anyways, so let's do one together, all of us. So here's the hand and the throw. Again, these are the cards we were dealt, and was 4, 8, 4, 5, 12, 7, 7, 11, and 3. The dice were plus and minus, addition and subtraction. And so now the goal is just to see, okay, what kind of calculations can I come up with? So if I'm walking through it, if I start from the left, I have a 4. Okay, what can I do with the 4 and a plus? You know what? I probably can do that 4 plus 5. Definitely that would work. I have an 8. Can I do anything with that? No. Another 4. What about 12? Yeah, I could do probably 12 minus 3. So the first calculations would have just been talking through what you can do. 4 plus 5, 12 minus 3. Let's do one more together. And this one has division and then addition. And so the cards and numbers are 10, 0, 9, 12, 8, 10, 7, and 3. And again, when I'm looking at that, I'm dealt them, I kind of have a strategy. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I combine these cards to get the most cards, because I really want them in my discard pile, but I also want to use both dice if possible and if I can. So let's see, I have 10 and plus, that's not going to really work. What about, I could make 100 and divide it. Oh, I could make 100. Nope, that's okay. What about, okay, plus, I definitely could use 9 plus 0. I could do that. Let's see. I don't have a minus for 11 plus 3. All right. I think how I can use the division is I can use the 2 tens. So I would use 10 divided by 10 is 1, plus 8 is 9. All right. So you try one. And I'm going to look off to the side because I brought my second computer so I can see you type that into the chat panel. All right. So you have these options: 11, 4, 6, 12, 12, 12, 4, and 4. So take about 15 seconds, which is not a long time. I'm going to set my timer right here so you can see it and see if you can come up with anything. And I'm not sure if I really mentioned earlier that you can also do, in addition to adding cards together, you can do cross sums. And so a cross sum is when you come up with a number that ends up adding to 9. 36, for example. 3 times 6 is 36, and the number 36, 3 and 6, ends up being 9. So you can do those type of things. All right. Anybody? Let's see what you got in the chat panel. Let me see what's in there. Okay. All right, 11 minus 4 is not 9, but that's a good try, right? So let's see what I have. 11 minus 6 is 5, and 4 is 9. So I know you were trying to go with that. You probably typed in the wrong number. But so the goal is here, again, you use both dice. 11 minus 6 is 5. And the power is always in talking it out so that really it makes sense. And that's also a memory strategy. When you use all of your senses in learning, you retain that information much longer. All right, so here's a challenge. Here's the throw. You have, 7, 6, 7, 0, 12, 10, 12, and a 1 and a 1. Let's see. You have multiplication and a subtraction. Okay, what kind of mathematical calculation can you do? All right, let's see what you got. I'm going to give you, again, 15 seconds. Try it on your own, and you can type it into the chat panel, or you can keep it to yourself, and then I'm going to share what are some possible calculations. I'm looking at my timer now. So, okay. So, if you had a moment and thought about it, here are some possible calculations. So, for example, oh, we had a bunch of them come in. So, let me see. 10 minus 1 absolutely is 9. 10 minus 1, everybody got. Excellent. All right. So, when it gets a little bit more difficult, is in those cross sums. So, 12 times 12 is 144. And 144 is a number that adds up to 9. So you can see, depending on how you play it, how what level you can go to as far as difficulty and things like that. All right, so here's my big challenge to you. Find 3 ways. I want you to at least combine 2 cards in this one, a minimum of 2 cards for one of the calculations. Doesn't have to be for all of them, but for one of them. And then come up with 3 calculations. All right, so the numbers are 4, 6, 12, 3, 10, 3, 9, 11, and 0. Okay, I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute and let you go. All right, so 1 minute, start. Again, at least join 2 or more cards together to create a new number. Because once you do that with this game, it takes it off the charts, right? When you're playing with little kids, you are limited and you start out with 0 to 12, right? Because they have to learn the multiplication table and all those type of things. And those are the basic math functions they have to learn and things like that. But as you shift to using this tool for a warm up or some get togethers or networking, and I have to tell you, I believe, like Robert says, social capital is one of the best things that you can build for yourself as far as a financial tool. Social capital is used. And so when you're playing these games, that's what you're also doing. You're playing and creating social capital. You're meeting people, you're talking about it and things like that. All right, we've got 8 seconds left. Let's see what we've got. All right. That's the timer. Okay. Type in your answers into the chat room. All right. Okay, great. So we got Stephen who came up with 39. Excellent. Divided by 3 is 13. Minus 4 is 9. Wonderful. Elizabeth and Elton. Okay, we have 12 plus 3 is 15. Minus 6. Absolutely. Great. There's a whole bunch. And see, that's one of the things that's great about this, especially when you're talking 9 plus 0. Absolutely. Still 0, right? So here are some of the things I came up. I combined, instead of the 30 and the 9, I'm still using the same strategy, just 30. 30 divided by 10 is 3, plus 6 is 9. Another one is 11 divided by 4, plus 3 is also 9. And then you had all the other ones, 9 plus 0. If you're trying to get the most cards, of course, then it would be maybe 9 minus 3 is 6. Wait a minute, what I'm doing here. I forgot. We're doing division. 9 divided by 3 is 3, plus 6 is 9. So games are good for your brain. Games are good also for you as a person. You know, we were talking about veterans and who have post-traumatic stress, and they're actually doing a lot of work right now with games and using games to help rebuild that train, rebuild those social skills and things like that. So games and your brain, there's a lot of power in that. It becomes real, it becomes meaningful and memorable, and it's authentic. And that's the kind of learning I think all of us really want. Nobody wants to be bored. Nobody wants to be lectured to. And really how adults benefit from this, because I know, let me see by show of hands, how many of you have maybe some younger kids around the house or the neighborhood that really could probably benefit from playing Get 9 in these last few weeks of summer before they return back to school? Because it's not just for them. You really, as an adult, will get some mental agility. You start doing those calculations. I can't tell you how many times I talk to players that are maybe a little bit more mature that go, oh, I totally forgot my multiplication table. You know, it's stress relief. They're short rounds. They're fun. It's a lot of laughter. It's mental rest. But I value the social connection. That's really one of the things that's very important, because that is what game games do, whether that's Get Nine or we're talking earlier about Monopoly or things like that. It allows adults to have a low pressure reason to interact face to face, to make connections, to build that social capital, and to build confidence. Simple rules, frequent wins, that makes it easy. And that's why you can easily use it for an opening act or things like that. So it's not just for kids, but it is a win-win situation for all. If you want to learn more, again, check it out on gamecraft.us. Buy a Get Nine game on Amazon. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or email me via the website. But my call to action to all of you is play Get Nine or some other game with somebody the rest of this summer. And thank you very much for having me. See what the other chats are. All right. I see Yvonne. Okay. 12 minus 3 is 9. Okay. 9 plus 12. Okay. We got some good stuff going in here. Excellent. So one of the things is you can use the dice only once, right? So if you have 2 dice, you can only use that dice. So Yvonne, I do appreciate the way you're thinking about that, being creative. Now, later on, some people play with 2 dice, some people play with 4 dice. So you have all those options. It really is up to you and who you're playing with. I'm going to type my website into the chat panel one more time, and then also my LinkedIn. And again, I'd love to connect with you. And I'll pass it on back to Elton and Elizabeth. And again, thank you for bringing us all together on the Discover Brightside, because it's right. These are all very bright side windows that we all get to peek into. So I'm enjoying.
Thank you for that, Jackie. I appreciate it. If you're not careful, little things like this can slip through your fingers. I mean, and you've got to stay active. You've got to stay engaged. And, all of a sudden your brain doesn't seem to want to work. The motivations. I mean, I was talking to my lawn fellow the other day, and I was cutting my grass, and so I was paying him, and I said, and I gave him, and I got now that he doesn't like to do math, and so I said, okay, well then let's see what happens if I short you, and then let's see if you catch that, and the truth of it is he didn't catch it. I said, are you going to, what he did is I gave him money, and he put the money in his pocket. I said, are you going to count it? I said, yeah, I'll count it when I get home. Well, you better count it now. I mean, because it's like the time to count your money is when somebody hands it to you.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, this is something my father taught me. When you go to the bank and they put your money in an envelope, take your money out and count it before you get home. Otherwise, because if there's an error, you can't argue when you leave. It's over. That moment is gone.
So
Money
math
is so,
skills
money
are
is so
very
tough.
important.
Money is so tough because it fries our brain. Really, we have more emotions about money than almost anything else. That goes back to some of the things that Linda said, things that we've lived, our lives, the words people said to us, all those type of things. So it really drives most of us bonkers. But the whole thing, I can't do math. I don't like math. I don't want to even think about numbers, is a huge barrier. So helping people just to say, yeah, you can. You can. Absolutely, you can. Those are the words we want to use. And maybe you start easy and simple and you promote that confidence, and that will help build that wellness that, Sandy was talking about. It's the building ground.
Here's something to consider. When you go to a restaurant and you're paying the check, whether it's in cash or card, and then you reach the tip. Then you do the 15%, 8%.
But now you put it on the bill and they calculate it for you. So those days are gone when you had to do
little things.
All right. So prizes. Everybody's a winner in Brightside, and so please pick a winner. We're giving away the scrub body today and some coffee. So there's 2 prizes today.
Okay, and prize goes to Yvonne.
Yvonne. All right.
All right.
So we'll make sure you get the scrub body, and then the next one. Also, I saw a lot of messages in the chat, Sandra. All the books are on the Brightside bookstore. So if you want to get any book, Mike's books are all on the bookstore. And I have to add a few more of Mike's books, but all his books are on the Brightside store. So if you want to look at them in one place, that's where they are. Oh, Dana's not here, but I'll send her some coffee too. She's from Asheville, and she wrote a beautiful book. I don't know why she left.
Okay.
Raj, woohoo!
Oh,
All right. So, Raj, you're a winner. That's awesome. We'll give you a special prize. All
thank you.
right. So, Raj and Yvonne, congratulations. Y'all are our prize winners for this month. Now, sometimes we swap prizes because our sponsors get shortages or whatever. So, we always will give you a prize, but I'm just letting you know that sometimes that can happen. All right, so here we go with Mike. You, the famous guy who we were talking about. Mike, you should have turned red by now, winning awards from a women organization. That says a lot about you. All right, so
Thank you.
let me just stop recording.